When you harp on your right to distinguish between men and women, are you afraid that you're going to be attracted to trans women?
I'm not.
You, sir? Are you positive? Why is it that you harp on your right to distinguish between men and women? If you can always tell, why is it so hard?
Well, because it's not even merely that you're putting on a dress, it's that you and people who identify as transgender are infringing upon rights and spaces that properly belong to women. So when you ask me, why do you care about this issue? The reason is because we live in society and we have political rights, and also because we care for the truth.
What if I am attracted to you? It doesn't change what this woman wants to say.
Well, these men are actually stealing the seats from other women. In 2023 in the United States, the best female cyclist is a man. The best female runner is a man. The best female swimmer is a man. And the woman of the year, a man. Tampax, Nike, Maybelline, they all used men to promote female products.
And it's not compatible with a kind, generous, compassionate society.
No.
There's a firm shake of the head here.
Yes, this is an excuse. This is a way to silence women. They used to burn us to the stake. Now they try to cancel us on social media. They try to silence us using this be kind tactic. You know what, Lee? I'm very kind and I'm very compassionate. And that's why I care for these children who are castrated. I care for these children who have their breasts mutilated, okay? Healthy breast. And they're sterilized in the name of an ideology that will never affected children and young adults ever in history. When they tell you that there were many trans people in history, they're lying to you. You know what was affecting this, who was affecting this ideology? Only few old men. And they were called transvestites. That's it. It's only because of pornography online and social media that now in the Western countries we have this social contagion. And we have to address it before it will destroy our society, our family values, and women's rights.
Remember when the boom started happening? When everybody was locked inside with TikTok.
Black people have rightly said they don't want to be referred to as the N-word. All decent people respect that wish and don't use language that minority communities find offensive. And I think that's simply what trans people are also asking. Clearly, as someone who grew up in the 1970s and saw the National Front march through immigrant areas using inflammatory language against black and Asian people, terrorizing those people, which did spill over into violence, attacks on Asian homes and shops, temples and mosques. I don't want to see a repeat of that.
I'd like to move this a little and say that the words he, him for a man are just the very ordinary words. They're not the equivalent of the N-word. Yes. I think the equivalent of the N-word would be...
Let her cook.
One of the reasons that we need free speech isn't just because we enjoy speaking or we want to say what our ideas are, important though that is. It is because we use language to write rules and laws. And if we are not able to call all male people male and all female people female, we cannot write rules that say all male people must stay out of this space. So if we give away words like he, him, male and man for people who are male, and we start calling them she, her, female, woman, it becomes impossible to say, but you are not welcome here. And the thing is, we're back to the question of who can come into female-only spaces. I contend that only female people can come into female-only spaces. So I need to be able to call male people male in order to explain why they can't come in. This is just tautological. This isn't me trying to resurrect the N-word. Half of humanity is male, half of humanity is he, him. These are not rude words.
I ain't gonna lie, I'm getting cooked.
I think Denzel Washington has something to say to this woman. And Jesse Lee Peterson has something to say to this man. Beta! Why? Because this is the type of man that would say, you know what, if you identify as a woman, you can just go to a woman's prison. And guess what? Some woman got pregnant. New Jersey trans prisoner who impregnated two inmates transferred to men's facility. One of Spain's toughest prison has been forced to implement shower watch shifts due to female prisoner falling pregnant after a trans inmate was transferred to a woman's wing. So in my personal opinion, I don't think they really care about the vulnerable gender.
I was at work and a customer called me sir, and I said, sir, actually it's ma'am. And then everyone around started clapping, And the guy who said it actually got arrested.
And then he was sentenced to death, yeah, I'm sure.
How is it sexism when we have no barriers today? So we can pick what we want to pick.
Who doesn't have barriers?
Women don't have barriers?
Women, yeah. What's
We have
stopping
no
you? You can do
barriers.
whatever you want.
I can
you?
or you can?
What's stopping you?
They cannot do it, or they are not capable of doing it?
I'm part Persian. I'm Middle Eastern. Okay, in Iran, women will get arrested, killed, attacked, beat just for showing their hair. To me, that is oppression.
That's not scientific evidence of oppression.
Come on now, dog. Come on, man.
And the scientific evidence,
That's factual evidence.
It's
That's
factual.
You don't need to have any scientific study. If a woman shows her hair in public in Iran, there's a high probability that a violent hate crime is going to be committed against her just for showing her hair, because in Iran and the Middle East specifically, there's a lot of oppression against women.
Even a blue-haired liberal woman was like, yo, we're not allies, stop talking.
Setting aside the bias and the double standards, there's nothing wrong with wanting to improve outcomes for historically disadvantaged groups. There's nothing wrong with the ideals you identified as the ideals of the woke movement. The objection to woke culture is not the end the woke are pursuing, but the means they use to pursue it. And the favored methods of the woke finder generals, as I'm sure all of you know, is not to argue, to persuade, to debate, but to smear, to ostracize, to publicly shame, to cancel. That, I'm afraid, is the tactics of the woke.
What are your overall thoughts on this? Because some of your opponents seem to believe you have homosexual tendencies.
Well, it is the gayest generation ever. Every fact shows that more young people are gay than any other generation. Yeah, I think my record of my marriage speaks for itself. But is there something you want to tell us about your own?
I mean, you don't gotta accuse me of being gay. Just because you're married don't mean that you're not homosexual yourself.
Well, you came up here asking about the gayest generation. I got some questions about you, man.
You're coming to my campus that I represent, calling us, one of the gayest generations.
Well, it is
in America.
One out of 5 young people are lesbian, gay, or trans.
And even though I don't,
it's the gayest generation ever.
Congrats, man.
Congrats.
Appreciate your time, man.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Are you standing up for gay rights, or are you pissed that you're part of the gayest generation? Because nearly a third, or 28% of Gen Z adults in the United States identifies as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, or queer, a larger share than the older generation. Look man, facts are facts. I don't know why you feel so insulted, but you do remind me of the girl that I disagree with, and they usually call me gay.
If you were to describe what it means to be a man or to be masculine.
I'm Griffin, and I don't identify as a man. I'm non-binary. I still have elements of, my identity that are masculine, elements that are feminine, elements that don't fall within that range. I personally just don't feel tied to the norms or the confines of gender at all.
I think that the notion of masculinity is just something that can be possessed by man or woman. Man, woman, non-gender conforming person. What it means to be masculine is just changing and very fluid.
All right, I gotta leave.
Always a good man. I was not always what you would call a healthy masculine man. And so as my life has changed, I've identified 5 points that I think make a truly masculine man masculine. Okay. I think point number 1 is a man who walks with God. Point number 2 is a man who stands on principle. Point number 3, which is a masculine man, is self-sacrificing. So someone who is willing to sacrifice for point 4, the people that he leads. A true man is a leader. And number 5, a masculine man is never a coward.
Look man, you have toxic man, you have toxic woman. I know one thing, when shit gets real, you want the toxic man to stand in front of you. Why so? Because most people that are toxic have the skills to protect you. We are using toxic skills to keep you safe.
I'm very happy to take part in this debate about democracy in Europe. So let me give you some example of very major democracy in Poland. Polish nation rejected you, dear leftists, 8 times. 8 times in a row you have lost elections in Poland. So get used to it because you're gonna lose again. Let me give you some data about Poland and Polish democracy. The lowest unemployment in European Union is Poland. The highest GDP after COVID in European Union is Poland. One of the lowest debts in European Union is Poland. So don't give us this rubbish. We don't need your doctors. We don't need your engineers. Take them all and pay for them. Because there's 0 terrorist attacks in Poland. Why? Because there is no illegal migration in Poland. So don't give me this look.
Hey man, not gonna lie. If things go crazy in Spain, I might move to Poland.
So I am going to spend the next minute screaming, because that is what is going on in here.
In all honesty, since when just screaming makes me an ally?
Trans women should be allowed in women's sports.
So you look, for example, at someone like Leah Thomas, who was the swimmer from UPenn, who came first in her event. If you look at her statistics from her freshman year when she was competing in the male division to where she was at by her senior year or junior year, whatever last year was, when she was competing and winning the tournaments, as she started to take estrogen and hormone replacement therapy and things like that, her statistics went down a lot. And the difference between her and the male world record and the difference between her and the women's world record were pretty much the same when she was competing as a man versus competing as a woman. A lot of other biological factors outside of hormones, we think, play a much bigger impact on what sports are, when really the only difference that tends to happen is hormones and the way you can build muscle mass.
Did he say anything to you that persuaded you to move to the disagree line?
No. Biologically born women should only be able to compete with the women, and then biologically born men should only be able to compete with the men.
Because why?
I feel like what he said about the different body mass, muscle mass, I do understand that they do take hormone blockers to help with that, but I still feel like there may be some sort of disadvantage.
So what you're saying right now, a man that right now is weaker is beating the best woman at swimming. Why do you think on any team I always bet on the team with more trans women?
Tell them to bring me my money.